Bella Salon and Day Spa, located at 41 West Main Street in Northeast Pennsylvania, proudly supports Chautauqua Sunrise and its volunteers. More information at bellasalonanddayspa.net. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District, with a local office in Olean. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. From the Access Channel 5 studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Channel 5. Continuing the traditions of Senior Report, we are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week, countywide, from 9 to 10 a.m. Join us by calling in live, emailing us, or checking out our social media. And now, from the Channel 5 studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels, and we've got a great show lined up for you today. So get your coffee or tea or hot chocolate, because it is cold out. Pull up a chair and stay tuned. And ladies, this show is especially for you this week and next week. We are going to be featuring some things that you might want to know about. And yes, grab your husbands, boyfriends, significant others, and grab them because they need to hear what we have to talk about today as well. We'll get to that in a little while. So what's going on around the area right now? Well, last week, as you know, we had our elections, and I made Doc's predictions, and I think I hit 80%. I know that everybody said, well, you can't count Kathy Young because she ran unopposed. Chris is now telling me I'm 75% accurate. I got a C. But the one election that did surprise me was the Robertson-Reed. I thought it was going to be much closer than it was. And anyway, so we had fun with that, and I want to thank Chris Burt for arranging the debate that we did have here back in October, because we hope that that was helpful to you to hear and listen to the candidates, and perhaps made you vote in a particular direction. I don't know. Maybe it's all our fault. But we want to be able to do this more and more, and hopefully next year and the year after. Chris is working on Hillary. I know she hasn't, thrown her hat in the ring and probably is not interested in running for president. But Chris, let's work on that, and we'll see if we can't get her here. We probably won't be able to. We'll probably have like wall-to-wall people in here trying to protect her. I don't know. But anyways, we have had congressmen, we've had assemblymen here, we've had state senators on the air. I think even Chuck Schumer was on the air once. Who knows? Anything can happen here at the station. All right. So the elections are over finally. The signs come down, and now it's time to put up the holiday ornaments and decorations and things like that. This morning I was getting ready to come over here to the studio, and I looked out the window and walked by Thanksgiving dinner. There were turkeys. I swear to gosh, they were at least 3.5 feet tall. They were huge. And there was like 6 or 8 of them just walking right by us in the field. So Thanksgiving's coming up, one of my favorite times of the year. All right, they're saying that we're going to get another polar vortex. So I thought, all right, I'm kind of a smart guy. I don't know anything about these things other than we got one last year. So I looked it up today. These polar vortexes are actually a cyclone that starts up at the North Pole, I guess, or in the northern region, and there's one at the bottom of the Earth, and they're there all the time. That's all I know. Anyways, so when the pressure changes or something like this, and I'm not a weatherman, so I'm not going to get in great detail here, but when something happens, sometimes this pressure, this cyclone, this thing comes sweeping down, and that's what's coming this Wednesday. So in all seriousness, humor set aside, might be a little prepared, folks. Make sure you got your shovels and make sure you got a little extra food. If you got generators, make sure you got gasoline in them and all that sort of thing. This could be kind of one of those dicey days. I know some people they're looking at certain situations where we might get the bad weather, and others are saying it's going to miss us. And so far, so good. We've missed a couple things already, but this looks pretty heavy duty. So be prepared. That's coming up this Wednesday, I guess. All right, moving right along here. Okay, sometimes I like to talk about the bizarre and the weird things, and a few weeks ago I was talking to you about sort of a macabre type thing where they are no longer having people visit funeral homes, but you can do a drive-by. Well, some people thought I was making that up, so I saw something else come up that I thought was just as bizarre, and maybe you've been seeing this on Facebook, but I don't know why I talk about these things. It's just how I am. But anyways, people are being buried in certain parts of the world now. They're being cremated, and we've been doing that for thousands of years. But what they're doing, I'm not kidding now. I don't make this stuff up, all right? They're taking their ashes and they send them to a company who take the ashes, separate the carbon, they do something spectacular with this carbon, and they turn you into a diamond. I don't make this up. So Randy, you and I could end up on somebody's necklace or on a ring. I don't know. But kind of $4,500. I guess it's cheaper than being shot up into a rocket into space, but whatever. So anyways, these are things that just jump out at me, and you got to be kidding me. Are you serious? All right, lots of things coming up. But first of all, I want to thank and recognize all of the men and women who have served our country for hundreds of years. This week is Veterans Day, Tuesday, November 11th. I asked my father-in-law, well, why is it always November 11th? I just thought it was like, whatever. He said it was the day that World War I ended, and they signed the treaty on the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour. It's a little piece of history for you. So I know that in many areas they're having veterans ceremonies and special programs and so forth. One I was asked to talk about today was the Veterans Day ceremony in Ripley, New York at 11 o'clock, right smack dab in the middle of town at the Four Corners. There's a beautiful veterans, what would you call it, memorial. It's a monument. I was trying to think of the word because it's more than just a couple little things, but it's a great situation where it's very symbolic of the situations of war over the years, and there's names and so forth. But this is going to go on all over the country, all over the county, and so forth. But if you're in the Ripley area, 11 o'clock, I know they're going to have a bugler there, and they're going to have a variety of different things, and it's a very, very somber ceremony they have, and so they wanted me to welcome you if you're in the area. Also, our friends at the Defenders of Freedom, they are sponsoring videotapings of gentlemen and gentlewomen that were in World War II. And if you have a loved one, a neighbor, and they were in World War II, and you think that they perhaps would like to be on tape, which will eventually go to YouTube, please contact Greg Peterson at that number, 489-2224, and they videotape you generally down at the Robert Jackson Center in Jamestown, or they'll come out to somebody's home and videotape them. These guys are dedicated to this, and they really, really want to hear the stories and so forth. So there you have it, Defenders of Freedom, and once again, honoring our veterans that needed to do what needed to get done. Okay. I wanted to pop up a picture since it is Veterans Day. Thanks, Chris. Those are three guys that are in our family that are really important to us. Now, you might say, well, who are these people? I will guarantee every household in America has pictures that look just like this. Let's see, I'm trying to make sure I get this right. So this would be, if you're looking at it on the screen, this would be on your left is my father-in-law, Bill Molson. He just went and we visited the Defenders of Freedom, and he was in World War II out in the Pacific, and he's hopefully we'll be able to air his story one of these days. But my father-in-law was only like 17 at that time. The fellow on the far right is my dad. He was in the Air Force, Army Air Force, and he served in Europe and was there for a number of years. And Dad's 91 and still going strong. My father-in-law's 88. He's still going strong. Then that good-looking guy with the green beret in the middle is my oldest son, Scott. And he's a Chief Warrant Officer 3. He's presently serving over in Europe right now, and he's been to Iraq and Afghanistan, down into Africa and all over the place. And so I just want to honor those 3 gentlemen from our family, and I hope that you do the same and thank them when you run into them and visit with them in the next days to come. All right. Now, you are watching Chautauqua Sunrise, and you can catch any of our shows. You can catch any of our updates as we go along if you go to Facebook. And all you got to do is just put in the search area Chautauqua Sunrise. You'll see all kinds of fun things there. We take pictures of everybody that come on the show and so forth. So we have 132 likes. We're looking for 133, 34, 35, and more the merrier. If you like us, there it is right there. You can email us, you can call in, you can Twitter us, you can do anything you want to get to us. This is a live show today, and if you have a question for our guest, call in, we'll take it, and then we'll see what the answer is to all that. All right, so we talked about all these things. Let's go to next, Christmas in Westfield. There's a big program coming up here, the Christmas in the Village, starting November 21 to 23. And as you can see, there's going to be some things going on Friday evening, and then well into Saturday and Sunday. So if you're looking for something to do, this is always a fun activity for the family. And it's sponsored by the Village of Westfield, and they're really getting into the swing of the holidays. So we'll be bringing that to you for the next couple weeks. But Christmas in the Village, Westfield, New York, just down the road here on 394. All right, let's see what else we got going here. This coming Sunday, tomorrow, that would be March 9th, Project Love is a program out in Ripley. It serves the general area of Ripley and Westfield. Did I say March? I said March. I got this voice. I don't know why I do these things. November, tomorrow, November 9th. Where did March come from? I got spring on my mind. Project Love, Gloria Mulson, she's been doing this for many, many, many years, raises money for kids for Christmas, and there's going to be a chicken barbecue. What could be better than a chicken barbecue, not in March, but in November. It's 8:50, it's going to be at the Ripley Fire Hall, and it's starting at noon, and I got to tell you, like any other chicken barbecue, you got to get there early if you want to get a dinner. They do takeouts, and something about they will do delivery, but I can't tell you the details of that. But if you're in the Ripley area, you want chicken barbecue and support a great program called Project Love, check it out tomorrow, $8.50. All right, I'm just checking all my notes here. Looks like I got everything covered. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a short public service announcement, and then we're going to introduce our guest, and we're going to have a really good discussion. So Chris, take it away. Let's have a public service announcement. We'll be right back.
For others, it may have just been a summer job. But for me, it was training. Now I'm an Air Force pararescueman, and my job is to save lives. Make the right choices today, and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Okay, we're back. If you're just tuning in, I'm Doc Hamels, and you are watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I want to thank all the people that have been watching this program for the last 6 months or so. We are getting lots and lots of praise and compliments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. People are now calling me to want to get onto the show, which is great because it makes my life really wonderful. And I know this seems hard to believe, but I am now booking into March. That's what brought up March, Chris. I'm sure that's what it was, a subliminal thing. My mind was into the bookings, I guess. But anyways, so we are well in advance of what we're doing from week to week, and it's very exciting for the team and I. We really enjoy what we do, and I hope that you pick that up and that you're enjoying what we're presenting each week. this week is no different than any other week for me. It's very, very exciting. And we have Dr. Charu Jain here with us today, and Mrs. Patty Ballman, who is going to be here, and I'll introduce their titles and all that in just a second. But one of the things that I try to do with this show is to cover certain areas of our community as far as health and wellness. And hang on a second. Okay, I just got a little blip here on my Twitter. It says here, and for those of you who've been our loyal and true fans, have been watching the show a long time, our former leader, Reed Powers, who passed away this spring, he would have been 75 years old today. So happy birthday, Reed. I know you're probably just right behind me somewhere. I never know where he's going to pop up. But 75 years, and Reed was on the show for well over 18 years, and this is the spin-off of the show here at Chautauqua Sunrise. All right, so what I try to do is I try to program things that are a cross-section of our community, whether it's youth or the arts, health, whatever it is, and today is with no exception. So right now I want to officially welcome Dr. Jain.
Yes.
Welcome to the show. And Patty, you're returning again, so it wasn't so bad last time you were here.
Not at all. Loved it.
And Patty's title is you are the head honcho. You are the director of Westfield Memorial Hospital.
That is correct, yes.
So would you like to introduce Dr. Jain and how why you brought her here? You really were the one that suggested that she come.
Yeah, this is very exciting. First of all, let me introduce Dr. Jain. And Dr. Jain is an OBGYN physician that joined the Chautauqua county community about 6 months ago.
Actually, July.
July.
So that's 4 months.
4 months ago. And so Dr. Jain is currently has a clinic within the Westfield Memorial Hospital to bring women's health services locally. And she operates a clinic, and I was thrilled to have her join our family at Westfield, and certainly the Westfield and Chautauqua community. Dr. Jain has lots of experience, and I know she's very, very anxious and to share her experiences with the community and talk about women's health services.
All right, wonderful.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome.
Now, I understand that you are associated with the Lake Erie Medical Services.
That's correct.
And how does that work with Westfield Memorial Hospital?
Just like other entities that we partner with, whether it's physicians in Dunkirk, Erie, Pennsylvania, we have partnered with Lake Erie Medical Services to work with Dr. Jain to have her bring her expertise locally so that patients don't have to travel outside of the community to get women's health services.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is a big deal.
It's a huge
It's
deal.
a huge deal, okay? Because my understanding, and I don't know the dates on this, but how long has it been that we have had someone in our community providing services for our ladies in this area, come out of Westfield area? How long? It's been a while.
Well, we have very exceptional primary care doctors that perform women's health services, but the specialty side of it, I don't recall when we've had a local provider, probably before I came, which is close to 2 years.
Okay, so it's been, and I think it's been longer than that.
Yeah.
And I don't, as I say, I don't remember, but I do know that when those services did pull out, or wherever they went, or the person retired, and I'm making this up because I really don't know the details of it, but it's been a while, and it's not okay. And I know that people, it's so. My feeling is it's hard enough to find a doctor that you feel comfortable with, but to find a doctor that you're comfortable with that has the services that you need. So, Dr. Jain, you are highly welcome to our area, and I've heard nothing but good things. And I'm just not making this up. People tell me, I can't believe you got Dr. Jain coming out because she's so wonderful. She's knowledgeable. People just love coming to you and so forth.
Well, thank you, Doc. Yeah, actually, I've been here for 4 months, and I have to say that I really enjoy working in both the Dunkirk-Fredonia area as well as Westfield. I have received nothing but warm welcome from everyone, hospital staff. The patients have been wonderful. and they're very appreciative of being able to have actually, I think, a female
Absolutely.
physician, and I
Right.
think that's a big change for them, just like you were saying.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you, okay? Because we've got ladies, our women in our lives are watching right now, and they're saying, well, who is this person? They're checking you out. So let's find out. So I do know that you grew up in Toronto.
That's correct. Yes, I'm a Canuck. I am from Canada, and I have lived all my life in Canada, almost all my life, before I went to medical school. And my parents, they're still there.
Okay.
So I am the only transplant from my family.
Okay, and so in Toronto, did you live in Toronto proper or out in the outskirts? Or?
Well, actually, so it used to be a borough, North York, and after Toronto got amalgamated, it's now Toronto proper. All the boroughs are properly Toronto. So I am now officially part of Toronto. I can write that as my address, Toronto. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, and I was telling you a little bit earlier is that I didn't tell you this part, but my grandmother and her brothers immigrated from Ireland, and they settled in the Hamilton area, Mississauga, Stony Brook, and so when I was growing up as a kid there, we would visit my cousins quite often up in the Canadian area. So I'm Canadian by blood, I guess, and I love Canada, and Toronto was one of my favorite cosmopolitan cities of all time. Except on the Queenie at rush hour,
Yes.
I can do
And
without that.
it's only gotten worse. Yes, I can tell you because I do visit my folks quite frequently. So traffic is a little bit of a problem.
Okay, so here you are living in Toronto, growing up. How did you get into this field? I mean, what made? I mean, is this something in your family that is medicine, or how that work?
Yeah, actually, my mother, she's a family physician.
Oh.
And so I guess I've always sort of had that exposure, and I always knew at a very young age that I wanted to go into medicine. And she's a family physician, so I thought that's what I want to do too. And but when I went into medical school and I got further training, I kind of thought that, I think I like the idea of being able to do some primary, some more specialized care, some procedure-related care. And that's how I found my calling, as you can say. I love women's health.
Good.
I really felt a connection with my women patients, and they felt a connection with me, and I really enjoy providing them with counseling services, preventative services, and any other specialized care that they need. It's very fulfilling for me, and it's very rewarding when I can help alleviate a woman's concerns or make her feel better and make her improve her health. So it would be like my perfect fit.
Okay, wonderful. We were talking earlier that the things that you just talked about are not table talk. For some reason, I'm okay with it, but that's because I am who I am. I don't know. But most guys and most married couples, they just don't seem to have the ability to talk about some of these things. And I don't want to say it's taboo. I just don't think it's a comfortable area for women to express their medical concerns to their husbands or partners or whatever. And I thought that's really sad because if I don't feel well, my wife is glad to know that I'm not feeling well, and she worries about me, that type of thing. But for some reason, we try to be the strong person, and we don't want to talk about it. And I know that some of the things that I now know that women are experiencing and have always experienced were never really talked about because I don't know why exactly. But I pulled up a list of things that were the top health issues for women. And I was not surprised in some, and others I was surprised. And the first one was, the top number one was heart disease. And they say more women have heart attacks than we ever will think of. Now, I know that's not your area, but do you worry about those things when you talk with the ladies?
I do, yes. In obstetrics and gynecology, we do primary care, preventative care, as well as specialized women's health. So yes, heart disease, cancer, these are always on my mind also. And there I do screen for them. I do monitor them, and if they need care and they haven't received care with a primary, then I will usually work in conjunction with one, or provide referral services for those types of problems.
So if they're reluctant perhaps to talk to their primary doctor and they're having chest pain or something like that, and they're embarrassed to talk about it, or it's all in your head, you know, you're just stressed, you know, and all those silly things that we always hear, they could talk to you about it, right?
Yes, I actually, in our office, we like to have women communicate about whatever their ailments are. So whatever my limitations are, you know, I will discuss those with the patients, and I will let her know that I will take care of her with whatever I can do, but I will offer her maybe primary care if there's something that I don't manage. Medical problems like cholesterol, diabetes, sometimes they can get a little complicated. But yes, I always leave my door open so a woman can talk about anything that she wants to, because oftentimes I've found that especially in smaller communities, women do feel comfortable with a female doctor. And that might be, if I am the initial step to her opening up and seeking care, I want to be able to let that happen for her.
Excellent. And you sound like you're really coming from what's been around for some time now, a very holistic approach, where you're not just treating one particular part of the person, but you're looking at the whole person.
I try to. I think that as medicine evolves, we are finding out more and more that it's not just about Band-Aid treatment, that we have to approach women in the whole, like you said, that there are behavioral issues, there are psychological issues that do affect their health, and how, in fact, not only are they going to take in what we say, but also how are they going to now, in the future, manage their condition. So that's also an important aspect that we do need to address.
Okay. The second top health issue for women was breast and lung cancer. I was a little surprised about the lung cancer. Breast cancer. We were focusing on this all of last month. And behind me, we're in pink here. I mean, we were talking about it, and I get after people all the time because they'll say, well, you know, I'll get to it, and it's like, what is wrong with you? Just do it. It's like your colonoscopy. It's like your for men for prostate or whatever. Get it checked. Why won't women go?
I think that a lot of the barriers for women's health is that they are usually the primary caregivers in the family. They tend to take care of their families, their children, and they neglect themselves.
So they're like number 5 on the list as opposed to taking care of number 1.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if they are not seeking care, then they're not going to get all those wonderful preventative services that all the hospitals at Westfield and Brooks does offer. There are a lot of services that are available to women in our community, and they can significantly change their life and you know, how their future is. There are risk factors that women have here, and I think they just minimize it. So they think that maybe it's not my issue, maybe they're not as well informed, and that's part of the issue too, that if they seek out a doctor, there's an opportunity to educate these women and at least maybe let them think about some of the things that happen in an office visit, and perhaps not that day, but if she feels comfortable continuing to seek care, at some point she will more than likely agree to an intervention, to have to have a mammogram, to go ahead and have pap smears, to continue with them, to have a colonoscopy.
I'm going to jump to Patty.
Yes.
My understanding is Westfield Memorial Hospital has the most awesome mammogram machine in the world. Is that true?
Well, I'm not a technology expert, but yes, we have digital mammography.
What does that mean?
That means that it is much more precise in detecting any abnormalities or tissue changes in a woman's breast. So we do have that. We have extended hours. We have Saturday hours, so we make accommodations for women to have their mammograms, for sure. That is an utmost importance. We do outreach also. If we have women who've come in for their mammograms and we don't see them again in another year, we will do mailings, postcards saying, come on back, get your mammogram.
There's this constant debate in the press and media. You don't need to get a mammogram every year. You don't need to do this. You know, all false positives and all that. What's your read on that? Either one of you.
Well, I'm going to defer to the physician. Yeah.
So there are women in different risk categories.
Okay.
So if it is, first of all, it's vitally important that a woman actually see her doctor every year so that we can sit down and assess what are any new risk factors that have come. And as far as mammography, so different organizations have different guidelines. It is okay in average risk women to have a mammogram 1 to 2 years.
Okay.
But yes, it should not be.
But not 5 or
no,
8 years or whatever.
No. Breast cancer is a very, it's one of the top 3 cancers that a woman faces. And it's one of the top 3 causes of mortality for cancer in a woman. So we have a very good screening method. It's called a mammogram, and it's made for that reason, so that any problems, any abnormalities can be detected early before any abnormality can go to an advanced stage.
Okay, my mom was a cancer survivor, and she had breast cancer, and she had a mastectomy. So once again, this is near and dear to my heart. She was a 35-year, I think she told me, maybe even longer survivor. So she got through it and so forth. And I suspect if she was a younger woman today, she probably wouldn't have had to undergo that. But maybe, I don't know. Since we have a captive audience right now, that's you out there right now listening to me, what should women look for? I know this seems silly to ask that question, but I hear it all the time. Women, I got a lump, it's a bump, it's nothing to worry about. I looked it up on the internet, it's probably just a cyst. With the incidence of breast cancer these days, and we won't even worry about what causes it. When should a woman say, uh-oh?
So it would be very helpful if a woman knows her family history, because that does change things.
Oh,
so yes,
okay.
So a woman, if she's aware of things like breast cancer in the family, ovarian cancer, other types of cancers, that places her at an increased risk.
So it's a genetic, strong genetic connection.
Yeah, there is definitely a genetic connection, but not all breast cancers are genetic based.
Okay.
But the thing is that if a woman knows that, then a mass may not just be a simple mass. And without an evaluation, it's very hard to say whether a mass could be benign or whether it's something to worry about. And that's why we have these imaging studies, because they help us define whether an abnormality is something to worry about or not.
Okay.
And if there is, then isn't it better to have it treated earlier and then be rid of the worry?
Okay. Nowadays, a lot of families are single-parent families, and in many cases, it's a dad with the kids. All right, the dads pay attention. So now you got a daughter coming up, getting older. She has some concerns, her body's changing and so forth. When does a young lady see you? I don't have the answer to this, so I need to know this.
So I recommend to mothers when they come that they can bring their young daughters beginning age anywhere from like 13 to 15, and
Okay.
they can have their first GYN visit with
All right.
us at that time.
Okay.
Because there's still a lot of adolescent issues that need to be addressed. And the family physicians do a fantastic job, but there might just be some other things that we can expand on.
Right, and 13 is when the puberty's kicking in and
Body changing.
body changing, all
Body
that sort of
changes,
thing.
a lot of issues are starting to arise.
Okay. Now, I understand, because I drilled my wife on this morning, because I said, okay, so what do you go there for? And I know what it's for, but I want her to tell me again. And she said, well, for babies. So, do you deliver babies?
I absolutely deliver babies.
Awesome.
Not only do I deliver babies, I take care of pregnant moms, high-risk, low-risk patients. We take care of twins. We take care of, there's hardly an OB patient that our office will not accept or cannot handle.
Okay.
Yes.
But now, my understanding is we don't deliver babies in Westfield, so how does that work?
So, no, you are correct.
Thank you.
We will see prenatal patients. Dr. Jain will see them in her office space at Westfield Memorial Hospital. All the visits, continued care visits from primary care doctors who are managing those OB patients. The deliveries will be done at Brooks.
Okay, so women don't have to go all the way down to
Not for
Erie for
every
just their
appointment.
appointment.
Right.
So they can start in Westfield, and they
Yeah.
can go all the way to the day of birth with you, and then you just have this all, now what do you have, like a schedule, this is where you're going to deliver?
I will, yeah.
So,
Do they have choices where they can deliver? Let's ask that question. Because with the insurance issues that are going on these days.
so I can't speak to insurance.
Okay.
But in terms of delivery, I deliver at Brooks Hospital. So in order for a woman to be delivered by me or one of my partners, they would have to come to Brooks, yes.
Okay, now a lot of people say, well, my insurance is out of area, my husband and wife, okay, you know this, my husband works at GE, the insurance is down in PA. What happens then? Do you hand them off to another doctor?
So that would be a piece of information I would like to get earlier on in the visit.
Oh, okay.
Because if that is the case, then the best thing would be for that patient to, if it's possible, develop a connection with her physician, her obstetrician, at the place where she's going to deliver.
Great.
Now, if that's not possible, then yes, I would keep in touch with, I would actually find her a doctor in Erie who would accept the care, her obstetric care, and deliver her at the hospital of her choice.
You mentioned twins, and I understand that that's something you know a little bit about.
Yes, yes. I know a little bit about that because I actually have twins. I have a girl and a boy. And they're a year and a half old. They're very, very small right now. And they're still brand new. I feel like
You still like them?
they're still very brand new to me. I haven't gotten over that first time mom glow and
Nice.
joy.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, great.
Yeah, and it's my parents who live in Toronto that are only 3 hours away. It's just nice having them close because I love that there's a lot of family interaction now
yeah.
with the grandparents,
Yeah.
and it's just important to have that family support.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
That's great. And so do you reside in Chautauqua County?
I do. I do reside in Dunkirk.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're close to all of us, so this
Yeah.
isn't a big deal.
Yes.
I got a Twitter question that came up, and it's sort of like, if a woman doesn't take care of herself, get her mammogram, and she does have cancer, and I know it might be like a naive question, but I didn't write the question. What's the worst case scenario? I mean, it's not a good prognosis, right?
Well, it depends on the kind of cancer. It depends on the extent. So if she's been diagnosed with cancer based on just a mammography, the next step would be that she would have to have a biopsy or a mastectomy, depending on the size of
Right.
the abnormality. And once that pathology comes back, we're in a better shape to see, how advanced is it, what's the staging, and invariably, most of these women do need radiation. But it doesn't necessarily always mean that it's a terrible prognosis.
But it can be.
But it can be,
All right,
yes.
and so we are talking life and death in some cases.
That's why early detection
Right.
is so critical.
Okay. All right. Let's keep switching up here. Doing okay?
Yeah.
All right, see how easy this is? Folks, you're watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Dr. John Hamels. I've got Mrs. Patty Ballman, Director of Westfield Memorial Hospital, and Dr. Charu Jain, who is talking about women's issues and health and delivering twins and all kinds of fun things here. So we're going to keep on going right down my little list here. The next concern is diabetes. To me, is like one of the scariest thing that's going on right now in America. I have a feeling diabetes is going to be number one in not too distant future. It's an epidemic, and it has a lot to do with what we're eating and what we're not doing and so forth. Does that come into play in your office?
Actually, Doc, it really does. Every day I see patients with diabetes. The biggest influence that diabetes has on my practice is actually with my obstetric patients, because diabetes is, it makes a pregnancy a high-risk pregnancy.
Right.
And it definitely has adverse effects onto not only the woman's health, but also to the health of her pregnancy and to her developing fetus. So yes, ideally, what would be wonderful is that in an ideal world, a woman would know that she has diabetes, and she would know about it before she got pregnant, and that it was well controlled before she got pregnant. And this would optimize her pregnancy. But we don't always have that situation, and it's not always easy. So when they come in, then there is a lot of very strict monitoring, and there's a lot on the patient that she also has to do to make sure that this pregnancy is as healthy and safe as it can be.
During pregnancy, you can develop something called gestational diabetes, correct?
That is correct.
So you can start okay and end up with diabetes, and in some cases, and I know women are in this situation, that now triggers diabetes, and now they have to deal with it the rest of their life. And so that you can't really control, but there are things that people can do to minimize or not get diabetes, and they are what?
So we do know that, yes, that diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is...
that's adult diabetes.
That is the adult
Okay.
diabetes, as opposed to the type 1, which is an autoimmune condition. Usually you find it in the juvenile population. But type 2 is an adult onset, and there is a strong connection with lifestyle choices. So yes, poor eating choices,
Okay.
sedentary life, obesity. Those would be the big things that we can change. So if we can access people, and we can educate them about what are the risks that they are doing, what are their risk factors right now, and if we can change them, then we can have a big influence on diabetes.
And this is a growing concern in women's health?
This is, I think, a growing concern everywhere, but
Okay.
yes, as a women's healthcare provider, I see it every single day.
Amazing.
Yes.
So my research isn't way off. Patty, put a blurb in right now for Westfield Memorial Hospital.
So Westfield Memorial Hospital does have a very robust ADA-recognized diabetes education program. We accept referrals from all physicians, including Dr. Jain. If there are people who want to learn more about diabetes, they're having trouble understanding diet, they're having trouble understanding how to test themselves for their blood sugars or hemoglobin A1Cs, we have Kim Greiner, who is our diabetes educator. She will meet one-on-one. We also offer small group sessions on diet, meal planning, those types of things. So we are there to help, because we do realize it is epidemic, particularly in the Chautauqua County area. When we look at health statistics, diabetes is ranked very, very high.
Okay, and for those that are true blue Chautauqua Sunrise fans, you can go back and you can pick up Kim Greiner's show back this summer, and you can learn more about what's being offered in the educational programs there and so forth. Okay, so this is all really important stuff that we're talking about. And if you have a question for Dr. Jain or I made you a doctor,
That's all right.
Dr. Mrs. Ballman, or me, or you have an announcement, something you want to share with the community, an event that's coming up, something about Veterans Day, call this number, or you can Twitter us, or you can Facebook us, or you can call 753-5225, and we'll be happy to take your call. So don't be shy. I know you're watching. I know you're saying, boy, if I could just talk to Dr. Jain, I would ask her this. This is your opportunity. It's free. We won't even charge you. Okay, so let's keep on going here. So then the next one is stroke. No, that's not true. The next one was osteoporosis. Okay, the first thing I always think of is not curvature of spine, but women that get bent over, their bones are brittle, they break bones very easily. I know there's screenings for this. I know there's bone density kinds of things. See, I know a lot more about it. I look like just an old, worn-out hippie guy, but I actually know a lot of this stuff.
You do.
And so tell us about that and causes of it, maybe, or what do you do for it and all that? Because this is I know this is another big problem for ladies.
Correct. You're right, Doc. So osteoporosis is also another condition that we all screen for. Not just the obstetricians, but I'm sure the family physicians do it as well. So yes, this is a condition that you see more prevalently in females than in males.
Okay.
This is something that happens in the postmenopausal woman. So some of the risk factors why a woman would develop osteoporosis would be if she has had a family member, a parent who has had osteoporosis in the past.
Genetics again.
Yes, there is some family affiliation. If she has a parent who's actually had a fracture, a hip fracture, for instance. We find that osteoporosis is a little bit more prevalent in the very thin white female, women who are less than 127 pounds. Other problems in this age group are that they also have a lot of other comorbidities. They have diabetes. Some of these people have rheumatoid arthritis. Some of them are on medications that can actually worsen or decrease bone health. So they might be on heparin for some coagulopathy. They may be on steroids for pulmonary disease. Those things can also reduce your bone mass. So it's very important that when that women come, because we can screen for these things. We do offer bone density scans. Westfield does it as well.
That, yes.
Brooks has it as well, and that will help us get an idea of what exactly a woman's bone density is. And from there, we can make decisions together. How are we going to improve this? So this is a dynamic process. The woman has a lot of say. It doesn't have to progress. We can offer them advice on exercising, resistance exercising, taking medications, making sure that she's taking enough calcium and vitamin D in her diet. So there are things that we can do to try and prevent the progression of this. And continue to monitoring it can really help with preventing this thing from happening to her.
Okay. You mentioned that prevalent in women more than men, but men could suffer from this, and as well as breast cancer. So basically in the women's world, but also could be affecting men. If men are, this is maybe not your question, but it might be Patty's, but if a man feels like he might be subject to breast cancer or osteoporosis, where would he go?
Well, primary care, if they have a primary care relationship
your
with
main
somebody,
doctor.
your health home, you would want to bring those things up to your primary care physician. In regards to men having breast cancer as well as osteoporosis, Dr. Jain, do you accept those patients in your practice?
So I do not see these type of men, but what I do is that when a woman comes to me and she tells me that her mother had breast cancer and her aunt had breast cancer, and maybe her second cousin removed had ovarian cancer. When I'm hearing a lot of this in her history, then I get concerned for a genetic condition. One of the more prevalent genetic conditions is associated with the BRCA gene, the BRCA gene, and a woman who has inherited this gene, there's a chance that her brother or her uncle, they could also have this. And in those types of families, we would get concerned about male breast cancer. And if there is this type of gene in the male, in the father or the brother, then yes, they would be eligible for breast cancer screening.
Okay. I'm sitting here, I keep hearing about the background of your patient, the history, the family members, and I'm going to do a little tangential discussion on this. If you haven't done your family history, your family tree, genealogical study, it is well worth learning about your grandparents' health, your great-grandparents if possible, keeping track of your brothers and sisters' health. I know my brother and I will talk about cholesterol, we'll talk about this or that, and our situations are somewhat different because, just how our genetics. But the point is that I remember one of my relatives had a heart condition, only to find out that their father, who had passed away many years ago, when we pulled up a death certificate through research, had the same exact condition. It could be, as you say, diabetes, which is very prevalent through both sides of my family, or heart condition, whatever it is. It's good to know this because you think, oh, I'm the only one, and realize you're born in this world, and sometimes the odds are against you that you're going to have a heart condition, high cholesterol, and maybe breast cancer or whatever.
Ovarian cancer.
So do the research, and then I think you're going to feel a little bit more ease on this.
And I also, to comment on that, as medical advances, every day there's medical advances, and I think in the field of medicine and healthcare, we're learning every day that genetic trail. And new tests are being developed so that we can even predict with some certainty what your chances are of getting a certain disease. And we're going to be getting more and more of that. So I agree. to study or keep track of family members' history, but not only that, just as important, tell your physician. Because that will alert them. As you're filling out those history forms that everybody loves to do in the doctor's offices.
There's good reason for it.
There's a reason for that, right. And you can't add too much to those, because the more the physician knows, the better that they can develop a plan of care with you.
Yes, Patty, I agree, actually. That we are finding out more and more information about diseases, and we're uncovering more and more genes that are related to these diseases, including colon cancer. We always knew that there was some familial association with some of the cancers. So for the men out there also, I'm not a guy doctor, but
But you are a gynecologist.
But I'm a gynecologist. Ergo. Yes, colon cancer is very prevalent, and it would be very important for them to find out about their history, so they can tell their primary provider, what kind of cancers and what age, and their primary provider can take it from there.
Okay. Many of us guys are married to strong-willed women. And I just got a Twitter question, and I'm trying to understand what this person is doing or asking, but what advice would you have for us in helping our strong-willed partners who are reluctant to go to testing? Or is there any advice that you can give us guys, I guess, to help our women in our lives?
Well, that is a little tough always.
Tell us about it.
I've often been told that doctors make the worst patients because we probably have that same problem ourselves. So
You can add nurses to that category, too.
Yes, I could. So I suppose that the best thing I would recommend that these husbands just continue to tell their wives that they need to take better care of themselves. If they're not taking care of themselves, how are they going to take care of their other family members? I would just continue to have these husbands tell them that we are not immune to diseases. We're not immune to problems. And even superwomen can have issues. They can get infections. They can get diseases. They can get lots of problems. And without having to see a doctor, it's very hard to take care of them. So I would just keep on encouraging.
Okay.
And if these husbands are able to take that extra step, they can always maybe come to our office and we can give them some reading material based on women's health.
Okay,
and
there you go.
perhaps they can leave it lying around. Maybe it's
I was reading some light material the other day. Did you know?
Absolutely, and I think too, talking about health care.
Right.
Whether you're, we went from babies to menopause. And each of those milestones on the way bring a different set of health concerns
I
that
never
we need to be
noticed
worried
that.
about. Yeah. And we didn't even get to talk about menopause. But, I think if people aren't comfortable talking to it, there's subtle ways. Think about birthdays. If you think, your birthday's coming up. Every year at the month of your birthday, you go have a physical, or you go see OBGYN, or you go see your men's health, and together do that. Have it be part of the birthday cycle.
I was actually laughing because you're saying about different stages of a woman's life. And my wife and I said, I'm going to invent a little thing that we put on a refrigerator, and it would be a color code, like a little dial. And it's like green is, hi, everything's fine, you can talk to me today. And then red said, don't come near me.
And you have fans strategically placed throughout the house.
Yes, it's like, so we still laugh about it. But again, some guys are tuned and others guys don't. And I think, well, we won't go into that, but that could be a lot of problems for marital issues. We got a phone call, so good morning, caller.
I just want to say good morning. This is Linda Spalding.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
Good morning to you, Doc. Good morning to your guests.
Good morning, Linda.
I've been listening to your show. It's very interesting and informative. Also, I want to say thank you to all of our veterans who have put their lives on the line to protect us.
You're absolutely right.
What a great act of love and dedication and patriotism. There are also services with the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging, and one of them, of course, is the Senior Employment Program. The number to call in Mayville is 753-4471.
You're doing a little Jimi Hendrix there. I was here getting some feedback off your guitar. Okay, and so Linda works for the Office of the Aging, and she calls in quite regularly, and she lets us know what's going on. So anything hot and heavy going on right now in your office?
Well, people are coming in for their health insurance counseling.
Oh, yeah.
That's right here. Okay. All right, well, I hope you've been...
And I'd like to mention it's free. It is
It
free.
doesn't get better than that, right?
Okay.
There's no charge, no fee connected to the health insurance counseling, and there are some places that do give it, but do charge. There is no charge with the Office for the Aging.
Okay, Lynn. Well, thanks always for calling, and maybe we'll talk to you next time, okay?
Okay, thank you, and have a great weekend.
Okay, great. Well, ladies, I know you could talk all day.
Oh.
We got 3.5 minutes left of the show. So let's hit one more area.
All right.
And we're just going to have to come back because my list keeps on going, unfortunately. This one's probably a real touchy one, but bladder and kidney issues. I know that this has been sneaking slowly into media and commercials and that, but this is a growing problem, or at least it's being identified, or it's always been there?
I believe that prolapse incontinence, that's what you're actually referring to, has always been a woman's problem. And I think that why we're hearing more about it is that women are now maybe starting to get a little bit more comfortable talking about it. There's more awareness about it. The doctors are probably eliciting this information. Even though there is a little bit more now than there was many years ago, I still want women to know that they're not alone with these issues, that they really should not be embarrassed. I think there's a lot of that they feel very uncomfortable, very embarrassed.
Sure.
Maybe they minimize it. They don't think that it's as important as, let's say, their high blood pressure or their cholesterol.
Right.
But the problem is that these issues, they do affect the quality of life.
Right.
And
if not addressed, it probably gets worse.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, absolutely. So if it's not brought up, we can't help you. But there are ways to deal with it, and we have things that we can do. And I would really encourage women to actually, when they see their primaries, they see their OBGYNs, to bring this up if this is an issue. Prolapse, incontinence, so that's leaking, and there's so many, there are medications, there's non-surgical treatments, there's surgical treatments, there are things out there.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Again, these are things that maybe people don't like to talk about, but it's happening, and they feel very isolated.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we are coming to the end of our show. I'm going to ask Patty or Dr. Jain to tell us how we get a hold of you and the information, like a phone number or whatever. So we got like a minute left. So who wants to talk about how to get a hold of her?
Well, I could start, and I'll
Okay.
be quick so we can let Dr. Jain have some closing comments. Dr. Jain has weekly clinic hours at Westfield Memorial Hospital. There is a number that we can get onto the screen that patients can call to schedule an appointment.
There you go.
Dr. Jain does office visits, and if there is any additional testing, it can be done locally right at Westfield, as well as many of the surgical procedures, if there are any that are required. If there is diagnostic testing, mammography or ultrasound, we can do that the day of the appointment.
Okay.
If the patient or the woman wants it done while she's there, for a convenience factor.
Okay.
Dr. Jain, any message you want to send out to the women of the world?
Quickly.
So just again to reiterate what we've been talking about, that I really want women to come out and take charge of their health and allow us to be partners, and together we can always, I think that it cannot be, it can only improve their life, and I would love to be able to sit down with women and not just talk about their conditions, educate them and their daughters, their sisters, and any issue that they have that they think that it may not be a women's issue, when they have concerns, bring it up during a visit, and
Okay, awesome.
Take care of it.
Folks, you've been watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I've had Dr. Jain with me, Patty Ballman from Westfield Memorial Hospital. Have a great weekend. I want to thank Jeff and, not Jeff, Jeff's not here, Randy and Chris Burt for helping out today. Stay tuned next week. We have another great show for you ladies. Facial good stuff. We're going to be talking about facials and hair and all kinds of good things. You can check us out on Facebook and on YouTube. We'll see you next time. I'm Doc Hamels.